My fellow Solomon Islanders, the world is facing a common and invisible enemy that does not respect geographical boundaries, the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. The World Health Organization declared the coronavirus a global pandemic on 11th March 2020. This simply means the coronavirus is spreading much faster than is normally observed for such viruses. Its ability to spread rapidly and the fact it does not yet have a vaccine makes it a very dangerous virus. As of today, the coronavirus has spread to more than 173 countries globally. More than 219,000 people have been infected globally, and it has caused more than 8,950 deaths. 4 Pacific countries, Guam, French Polynesia, New Caledonia, and Fiji, have now reported positive cases of coronavirus. Many countries have closed their borders to international travel as they turn their attention to managing local community transmission. Around us, Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and Fiji have all tightened their border controls. Any person going into these countries from overseas must now practice self-quarantine for 14 days before they can move around. We are also learning more about this virus. For instance, we now know that the virus is spread through close contact with infected persons, mostly by touching the hands or face of the infected persons. It is not airborne. It has symptoms very similar to flu, but it is much more infectious and can spread much faster. The virus can remain alive on surfaces for long periods, allowing for others to touch and spread it. The period between contracting the virus and development of symptoms is on average between 2 to 10 days, but could be longer. The virus could spread from the infected person before the symptoms fully appear. The coronavirus infection is more severe on the elderly population and people with lower levels of immunity, such as those with coexisting diseases, including diabetes, organ diseases, or chronic diseases. It is important we protect our vulnerable population and ensure they are not unduly exposed to the virus. Young, healthy children and adults appear to withstand the coronavirus infection better. In January this year, my government established a high-level multi-sector coronavirus oversight committee, chaired by the Secretary to Cabinet, to assess and to coordinate our response to the coronavirus threat to our country. The Oversight Committee has produced a draft multi-sectoral coronavirus preparedness and response plan. This plan is being refined. Once finalized, it will guide the work of all government sectors and partners, including the private sector, churches, civil society, and communities. Our Oversight Committee is supported by teams of dedicated experts in health and other important sectors. Our front lines are manned by our dedicated people from the respective border agencies. We have established quarantine centers for people who need to be quarantined. We have some isolation capacity for persons that are infected. Our provincial hospitals are informed and they stand ready to help. Fellow citizens, as I speak to you today, Solomon Islands has no cases of COVID-19. The government's response to the coronavirus aims to achieve 3 simple goals. First, to protect all Solomon Islands and all people living in Solomon Islands. Second, to keep the economic engine of our country going. Third, to position the country to emerge from this challenge stronger and united. In relation to the first goal, we have stepped up our response to achieve two basic objectives. Firstly, to prevent the introduction of the coronavirus into the country. And secondly, to prepare the country to respond effectively and efficiently in a coordinated manner if the coronavirus enters the country. To date, we are succeeding with both objectives. The current measures to prevent the entry of the virus will continue. However, the time has come for us to step up our response even further to protect our people and country. We must sharpen our response as if the coronavirus is already here, so that will not be that we will be found wanting if and when it does get into the country. To achieve this, we need to stand together to fight the coronavirus. We need a bipartisan approach at the political level. Our private sector, our churches, our civil society and communities must be part of our strategy to fight coronavirus. My fellow citizens, from today, we will be implementing the following additional measures incrementally to protect Solomon Islands from the coronavirus. Most of the earlier actions focus on Onia and Guadalcanal being the most vulnerable areas for the infection to start if it comes into the country. First, early closure of all schools in Onia and Guadalcanal to proceed on an early school break from Friday, 20 March. Students will vacate the boarding schools during the break. Schools in the rest of the country will remain open until the scheduled first term school break. All schools will reopen in accordance with school calendar in April unless the situation changes, when further decisions will be made. Decisions on the tertiary institution will be made by their respective authorities, noting the decision taken by the government in Onia and Guadalcanal province schools. Second, all citizens not working and living in Onia are encouraged to return or relocate to provinces immediately. Onia is the most vulnerable location of the virus. It is important to reduce the population in Onia during this time and in anticipation of a potential lockdown of the city should an outbreak occur. Number three, all citizens in the provinces are not advised to undertake any non-essential travel to Onia with immediate effect. Number four, all traditional and non-traditional border travelers using the Solomon Islands PNG border are advised this border crossing will be closed effective Friday, 20 March 2020. PNG has already closed their side effectively today. The fifth, Onia Central Market will remain open until further notice. Sixth, Kuka Market will be closed indefinitely from Monday 23rd March 2020. 7. Fishing Village Market will close indefinitely from Monday 23rd March 2020. 8. All illegal markets, makeshift bidon markets within the Onia city boundary and on Guadalcanal province from the eastern town boundary to Alligator Creek and from the western town boundary to Poha will be closed by 23 March 2020. 9. International and domestic flights will be reduced from Sunday 22nd March 2020. Decisions on flight reductions have been made by the airlines themselves as follows. Virgin Airlines last flight is today, Thursday 19th March 2020. Air Nigeria is suspending all its flights for 2 weeks initially. Its last flight is this Sunday 20 March 2020. Solomon Islands is likely to reduce its flight to Brisbane to 3 flights a week from 6. There will also be reductions in Solomon Airlines domestic route. 10. Self-quarantine. Incoming passengers from or who travel through any country reporting cases of coronavirus, regardless of nationality and number of cases reported in those countries, will self-quarantine for 14 days. A. At home if they come with health or medical certificate no older than 5 days prior to arrival date certifying clean bill of health. Or B. At institutional quarantine center if 1. They travel through restricted or affected countries, 2. Do not have medical certificate, or 3. They have some elderly or immune compromised people at their homes, and C. Hotel rooms will effect Friday 20th March. 11. Quarantine facilities and centers. The government has already secured several facilities to be used as quarantine centers for incoming passengers as well as for our own nationals that may need to be quarantined for a certain period of time from their homes. More facilities are being assessed to ensure they are ready for use if so needed. 12. All cruise ships and yachts are banned with immediate effect for 90 days. 13. All cargo ships, including all logging, mineral ore, and fishing vessels, must serve the 14 days quarantine period at sea and can only be cleared at Noro and Honiara ports. 14. Non-essential public gatherings, including sporting events, fundraising concerts, weddings, nightclubs, cover bars, are discouraged. These may extend to churches if the situation gets worse. 15. Scaling down non-essential government services. Non-essential government services will be scaled down following an assessment by permanent secretaries, and in the case of Honiara City Council and Guatemala Province, the city clerk and the provincial secretary of Guatemala Province respectively. 16. Tourism Solomon Islands will temporarily hold all overseas marketing trips and reduce frequency of events that would result in gathering of people domestically. 17. Prioritizing government expenditures. All permanent secretaries are now reviewing and reprioritizing their respective ministry budgets in anticipation of budget pressures due to the coronavirus. 18. Sustaining economic activity and growth. The government is currently analyzing appropriate economic stimuli interventions to ensure the country's economic engine continues to operate during the coronavirus-driven downturn in economic activity. 19. Regular communication. Effective today, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services and the Government Communication Unit will provide daily updates on the coronavirus situation in the country on electronic, print, and broadcast media. 20. Establishing capability to test coronavirus at the National Referral Hospital. The government is moving ahead to procure and set up local capability to test coronavirus at the National Referral Hospital Dengue Laboratory within the next few weeks. Currently, we can only have our samples tested in Melbourne. These measures will be reviewed regularly and will be adjusted as necessary to suit the situation on the ground. Let me close by thanking and commending our dedicated teams from all government ministries who participate in the oversight group, all our frontline officers and all our partners. And my fellow citizens, each one of us can do our part in preventing and or reducing the transmission of the coronavirus if it ever enters our country through the following simple measures. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water, or clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub. If you cough or sneeze, do it into your flexed elbow or use a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately into a closed rubbish bin and then wash your hands. Do not cough, sneeze into your hands. Clean your house, offices or stores. Disinfect surfaces, tables or work desks. Practice social distancing. Keep at least 1.5 meters from the other person. No handshakes. Avoid touching your eyes, nose and mouth. And if you feel unwell, stay at home. Contact the health hotline 115 and other contacts that will be provided during 25256 and 23650 or 752 or 75222. Avoid crowded places. Do not spread the disease to others. Our health teams will continue to conduct risk assessment. The Ministry of Health has launched a Facebook page. It's https://www.facebook.com/official_MSSI/. The ministry also uses the text messaging services of both Telecom and B Mobile to disseminate latest information on coronavirus to the public. The government website also carries information about coronavirus and can be found at https://ministry-of-health-medical-services/essential-services/learned-about-coronavirus/. Further updates will be provided on a regular basis. My fellow Solomon Islanders, we must work together to combat the coronavirus if it enters our country. My government will prioritize resources to support our preparedness and our response to the coronavirus. I am confident that with God's grace we will stand united and together we will succeed. Thank you all. May God bless Solomon Islands from shore to shore.